Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Recruitment Uncensored. I am a bit thrown off today because I had the one with Leisha last week. I'm pre-recording this with Max today, but obviously you lot are not seeing it until, when would it be? The 19th, because I'm training all day. So that's why we've pre-recorded it. So I'm a bit thrown off. Also, if I'm being completely honest, I'm still a little bit hungover from the weekend. So we are not editing the show today. So if anything goes wrong, it's because I'm still a bit fuzzy from the weekend. But yeah, welcome back, everybody. I've got another amazing guest on with me. I've got Max. Can you please tell me how you pronounce your surname? Because I get it wrong every time. I know I've asked you this before. I just get it wrong every time.
So Max Learmonth.
Learmonth, right.
There we go.
I'm going to grain that in my brain. I'm going to get it right. But Max is the founder of Forged Talent. And we are going to be talking about, is recruitment fact? The harsh truth and how to fix it. So I've been looking forward to this one because some of the questions, we were having a bit of a chat before we pressed record. They are quite juicy, so we could probably easily go for longer than half an hour today, but we'll try and keep to the time. Just because this is pre-recorded, I don't want you to think that you can't check your comments and your questions in, because we'll just come back to them once the show's gone out. So if you're watching this and you want to get involved, maybe there's something we say that you don't agree with, or you've got a question for Max, or just a thought of the show, still chuck it in because we will still get them answered for you. Obviously, the only difference is I can't bring it up on the screen. That is literally the only difference. But right, let's get started because we've got lots and lots to talk about today. So first one, which is a big one, why is it you think that the recruitment industry is fucked at the moment?
So I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, and people are going to slide into my DMs because they do when I speak about things that are slightly controversial. And I think it comes down to three things. The first one is a large percentage of the industry is only focus or sole focus is chasing a fee and doing whatever it takes to get a deal across the line. It's become so transactional. And that's coming from management, leadership, owners, and no one is thinking about the negative impact that they can have on a customer. And for me, a customer is both the candidate and client, because all anybody's thinking about is their back pocket. So like for me, that's clearly the first one. The second one is training, or the lack of it. The barrier to entry in our industry is non-existent. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. I probably wouldn't be in the industry if there was a barrier when I first started.
None of us would, really, would we?
Yeah, exactly. We all fell into it. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. But new recruiters aren't being trained on what recruitment actually is. They're being told to spam a database with candidates of the week, right? I get sent those by people who have accidentally added me to their database. It's ridiculous, and they are shite. And the other thing that they're being told to do is just chase LinkedIn jobs, or just chase Indeed, chase Reed. It's like,
oh no, it's honestly my biggest. But I was going to bring this up actually.
But that's not recruitment, right? It's not. And then the other thing, and this is the bit where people will get upset by, there are people in management and leadership roles who should just stay the fuck away from people. And there's probably two parts to this. These individuals are the ones that are mis-selling the reality of recruitment at interview. You can have 100K in a Lambo in year one. Come on, give over. That's just...
I've seen the ads. I've seen the ads that say it.
It's ridiculous. But that then creates this instant need for gratification from a new consultant point of view, because they're like, well, if my boss said I can do that, then surely it's true. Like they're
where's my 100K? I'm 6 months in. Why aren't I a millionaire?
Exactly. And then these are the folk that are the ones that don't train people. They then expect people to bill from day one, and they're pretty toxic. And inevitably, you then get people that leave the industry. So you combine all those three things, Kate, and for me, that's why I think we've got a massive, massive problem in the industry. There are lots of good people in the industry. I will caveat it with everybody's not a dickhead, but there is a huge problem going on.
The problem is, as well, for me, is the people that leave those agencies, especially when they're at that trainee level, they then think, well, recruitment is shit. I hate it. It's a terrible industry. They then tell everybody about it. But actually, they were just in the wrong agency. If they went into the right agency and had a better experience, actually, they probably would have discovered, oh no, it was the wrong company for me. I'm in a good company now. I enjoy recruitment. And it's just pot luck because you can be sold the dream and get sucked into those agencies, and then it's toxic. You don't get trained properly, you don't get treated well, and all that stuff. But what you said about the I've noticed, and I think maybe it's a negative sort of knee-jerk reaction to it being difficult again, recruitment going back to normal. I've noticed more agencies reverting back to that old school just chase jobs BD approach. And it's like, I've had a couple of conversations where agency owners are getting people to do it, and they're saying the same shit down the phone to people. Yeah, we do things differently. We've got great candidates. Every person says that. You're not doing anything differently. And if you're just ringing around, basically saying, got any jobs I can work, you're doing what every other agency like that is doing anyway. How do you expect to be likable in that sort of scenario?
It's like, where's the value add? Where's the credibility? Like, why should they be paying a fee for that? Well, the answer is they shouldn't. So, and they're not going to pay a fee for that, because by the time you phone them, there's probably been five or six other recruiters that have phoned them as well, and have gone, like you've just said, got any jobs? Yeah, but we've got 4 other agencies. Yeah, but it is happening. It is happening a lot, and I can say that because I've been interviewing a lot of people for us, right? And when I ask them about the business development strategy and what's going on in their current businesses, that's the type of thing that goes on. And look, I've learned the hard way in like years gone by as well. Like, I'm by no means saying that what we're doing is perfect or anything like that. But I've learned the hard way from mistakes that I've made previously with this type of stuff.
Yeah, I think the thing that drives me a bit mad, and when you point it out to people and they realise, I think they have that light bulb moment, is these things aren't working, right, that they're doing. And when you say that to them, like, okay, well, is what you're doing at the moment working? Well, no, it's not. Well, why the fuck do you keep doing it then? Why do you keep doing it? Like it's okay. You relate that to, oh, we take on trainees, we're not training them, we're doing this and this. It's not working, but we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But it's just a waste of time.
Well, what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and that is what goes on within this industry from the things and the examples that you've just given. Like, it's nuts if you actually think about it.
Yeah, it is. And with your point around the managers, I think the problem as well is that quite often, and it happened to me, people get promoted into a manager role because they're a top biller or a good biller, but it doesn't mean you'll be a great manager. I was a bloody awful manager at that time. I didn't have any training for it. I didn't understand how to sort of modify and adapt to this person who was so different to me. I was in no place to be a manager at that point in time.
Yeah, like
I should have just been kept in the role I was in.
Being a billing manager,
maybe.
Being a billing manager, in my opinion, is the toughest role in recruitment. Like, there's this expectation of you've still got to build to the levels that you were. You've got to hire people. You've got to train people. Maybe you've inherited a team. You've got to get X amount of performance out of them, and you've still got to maintain like your level of output. If those individuals aren't trained properly, well, what's the easiest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is to micromanage and then just throw loads and loads of KPIs at people. I am a fan of KPIs, by the way, but it's about how you use them and about what ones you use,
and the right ones as well,
and the right ones. But far too often, like, people are like the example you've just given, are thrusted into a management role without any real structure or guidance, and it's right, crack on. And then all they know what to do is how they've been trained themselves, which typically is like KPIs, micromanagement. And then they put that on people, and they're not thinking that what motivated them might not motivate another person. They're not thinking about the multiple hats you've got to wear as a manager. And it becomes like this, it can become this environment where you hire people, they leave after 3 to 6 months because their expectations haven't been met, but then also yours haven't, because they're not being trained properly.
Yeah, the training piece. I mean, I think sometimes people think I say that because I am a trainer, But genuinely, I know I speak to loads of different agencies. It baffles me still at how many they say like, oh, they're just on the job training. That's not training. If you just stick them on a desk and expect them to just learn as they go, they're not psychic. If somebody's new to recruitment, they don't know what they're doing. But then you get annoyed at them when they're not getting results.
Yeah, it's got to be clearly more well thought out than that. I do think there's a huge part of you learn through osmosis, right? And you learn from the people that you're around, and you learn from actually doing. However, you need to be given the theory, you need to be given the structure and the framework to be successful. Once you've got that, it's then about putting it into practice. For me anyway, that's what I think really helps training.
Good training, which obviously I deliver, is a mix of that, right? So you do a little bit of sort of learning, what you call classroom, but then it involves going out and doing and being supported in that doing. You can't just sit in a classroom for weeks and just learn and not actually go out and do it. It's sort of splitting it in that way. But yeah, no, I'm with you on all of those points. And the thing is, people might get annoyed by it, but people can't say that's not true. Because it, like, well, you see it, I go out there and see it. These things are happening. We're not making it up. Like, these things are actually happening. So this is another one that I think will cause a bit of, well, maybe not cause a bit of controversy. But is recruitment really a sales role?
Of course it is. I don't understand how anybody that's been in the industry can say it's not a sales role. For a whole host of reasons. You've got to sell the solution to a problem. You've got to sell your service. You've got to sell your expertise. You have to sell opportunities to candidates. You have to sell the process to clients. You have to sell how you can add value. Like I could go on and on and on. Yes, it's about then developing that relationship and becoming really, really sticky with the customer, that being candidate and client. But how do you do that at the start? Well, you've got to use the phone, right? And you've got to get out there and you've got to sell what you do.
Sell yourself as well. A lot of it, isn't it? It's people buy you, I think, as well in recruitment, don't they? As you're the personality as well, don't they?
Of course they do. So for me, I don't understand how anybody can say that it's not a sales role. I think some of it's coming from the fact that people are scared to be on the phone now, in my opinion, and a lot of the gurus online are telling people that they don't need to sell and it can all be inbound. Like, it's a load of crap, in my opinion. Like,
this is why we've got such a problem with business development. Yeah,
it is, and I think it comes down to people get cold call anxiety. They're putting people on a pedestal in terms of like outbound stuff, and then there's that lack of training. It's actually pretty simple to overcome, in my opinion.
Yeah, but from my view, and I've said this for quite a while now, is anybody that thinks that they can rely on inbound, anybody that goes around saying like you don't need to use the phone anymore, is scared of doing it. Is scared of business development. They might not admit it, but they'll find any excuse not to do it. And they'll say like, oh, I don't need to, I can just use LinkedIn messaging or email and all this stuff. But ultimately what it comes down to is you don't want to pick the phone up. It's not that you feel that that's a better sales method. You just don't want to do the other thing. And in my opinion, if you don't like speaking to people and you don't like using a phone, then go and get a fucking job in Tesco or wherever, where you actually still have to deal with people there as well. But go and do a job that doesn't involve building relationships and stuff, because that is what this job is underpinned by. So I don't understand why people come into recruitment, and I've actually done a video on this on my YouTube to say to people, if you don't like the phone and you don't like speaking to people, don't go into recruitment.
Look, I agree.
Simple.
I agree, but I also think it's on management, leadership, owners to be realistic with what recruitment actually is. Like, not sell sunshine and rainbows. Like, be brutally honest with where they're at. So there's a level of expectation, but then teach people how to overcome that cold call anxiety, because people do get it. And I think it's because they put an FD, a CFO, a CTO, a CEO on a pedestal. But it is really simple to overcome, in my opinion. It's like, plan the night before, have a purpose of like why you are calling. Like when you get the opportunity, identify the problem, like talk about the solution that you can provide, ask for a face-to-face meeting, because that's how you start to build the relationship. But you've got to display the value adds in the time that you're given, and you've got to have a medium and long-term approach. Like if you're just thinking on the short term, like I need a job, I want a fee, like that's just transactional. Yeah. So focus on the value, and going back to my point right at the start, focus on the positive impact you can have. If you do all of that and you're planned and you're prepped and you're getting the reps in, because it is about repetition, doesn't need to be more complicated, in my opinion.
No. And I think, like you said, the short-sightedness around it is, and sometimes this isn't the consultant's fault because it comes from above as well. It's like I'm picking up the phone to pick up a job, like right now. Realistically, like when was the last time most of us rang on a first call with somebody and they were like, yeah, I'll work with you. Like you've got to chip away and chip away and chip away and keep that consistency up and try different things sometimes and different, try and get a meeting and then you build it from there. And I think sometimes people have this, again, it's like what you said, this unrealistic expectation of what it should be, and they can't cope with, and then they get an objection, they take it as rejection, give up, and it's like, oh God, I can't pick up any jobs. But it's about building it over time.
Yeah.
But again, it's the unrealistic expectation around it, isn't it? Which affects then people's mindset. They get sort of really down in the dumps about it. And that's when you can get more anxious and worried. And
it's because it's like twofold, right? Like a recruiter is just, some recruiters are just focusing on the fee and the impact that then has on their billings. And then from a business point of view, like we only celebrate the fee or the wins, right? But there's a step before that. It's like, why can't we celebrate the nugget of information that came off that call that then led to another call being booked in? Why can't we celebrate that meeting being booked that nobody else has been able to book? Like, why can't we focus on that stuff? And I think for me, the big part of what we try and do is like we have sort of regular check-ins at the end of every day, and it's like it's not about the jobs, it's not about the fees. It's like, what's been the little win? Like, what's been that little win that we know is then going to turn into something? Because it's like that. It's that old saying, right? Incremental marginal gains day in, day out make you better at your job.
Yeah.
Right? They make you better in the gym. They make you better at home. All that sort of stuff. It's about the value that you can have, but people need to know what that value is, and understanding like the little wins or the little successes, like they add up. But all you're taught from the get-go is if you bill X, you'll take home Y. And that's what the emphasis has become on.
And I've had a few agencies recently ask my opinion on sort of like commission structures and stuff. And one of the things I've been saying to people is, look, we reward for placements, but barely anyone anyway, right, rewards for any BD activity. So you want all these consultants to be doing it. And it's great for mindset as well. Like you said, things like, it doesn't have to be a monetary reward. If you find out what motivates people, it can be loads of different things, but rewarding for things like, my mind's gone completely blank now because I'm like fuzzy head, but rewarding things like, say you pick up an exclusive, you find out about something exclusive or retained, or you get a really big piece of intel that leads to an amazing meeting, or, a lot of people talk about dials, but how long are people on the phone for? What about who's had an amazing conversation with a client that was cold and you've turned it to warm? Like rewarding all these positive behaviors that lead to placements and lead to that end goal, but it's getting people in sort of a more positive mindset and creating better habits around activity and rewarding people for that.
I think like that. I think slightly dangerous if we reward people for call time and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's what you've just said. I think where my head goes with it is it's on the management, the leadership, the owners to have that positive reinforcement. So if you are like sat with somebody, if you are in that like wrap up, kick off, all that sort of good stuff, and people are talking about the wins they've had for the day, celebrate it. It doesn't, to your point, that doesn't mean they need a monetary sort of incentive. That doesn't mean they need to be given vouchers for flipping Selfridges, but you can positively reinforce what they've done that day, that's going to make them want to do it again tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, if they start to have these things that are just adding up every single time, or every single day rather, that is going to turn into picking up the exclusive job, like placing that really, really tricky role. It's going to add to it, and it's going to make that happen. But for me, the emphasis is like billings, fees, and we've that stuff's really, really important. Look, I'm a business owner, you're a business owner. That stuff is really, really important. But there's a different way we can articulate it, and there's a different way we can discuss it to not have that as the only emphasis. It's about what are the things we're doing before that to get there.
Yeah, and ultimately, that end goal of whatever the figure that you want them to achieve that year is, or they want to achieve, for some people can feel so big and way off. So as you just said, by doing all these little things, these incremental things that lead to that, and eventually anyway, it makes everything more manageable. Yeah, so I totally agree with you on that. So we've sort of already maybe started touching on this, right? But how are you doing things differently in your agency at the moment?
So start off with, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. All right, recruitment is recruitment, and going back to your point, like right at the start, like everybody's making a noise in the market about we're a game changer, we're doing this, we're gonna change the face of recruitment. We're not, right? However, you can focus on relationships and not transactions, and that is fundamentally what we're all about. So for us, it's about identifying a problem, providing a solution, and then articulating how we can really, really add value. Of course, that results in a fee, right? There is no getting away from that. Like I've just said, you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. That stuff's important, but you can go about it in the right way and not have this short-term needs of instant gratification. And for me, in most cases, like recruitment is pretty vanilla, right? We either offer perm or we offer interim. And from a finance perspective, it's either transactional or qual. So and we do offer permanent interim, but we've gone sort of inch wide, mile deep in finance. So we've got a team that just focus on transactional and part qualified, team that focus on just traditionally commercial. And then we've got a team that focus on day-to-day leadership. And we hire people, or have been hiring people, with a background in those areas so that we can display our credibility. And when we go and talk to a potential customer, it's like we've got people that actually specialize in this area, and everybody, that's all they do day in, day out. So by having specialists, we can focus on the relationship and not think about just absolutely tanning the phone. Although there is a part of that, right? We are all 360 recruiters. We are all cold calling people. We went live in May 2023 as a team of 3. We're now a team of 8. The goal by the end of 2026 is to be the largest and most dominant finance recruiter in the Northwest. But you do it by not being a bunch of dickheads, have a relationship-driven approach, identify problems, providing solutions, and having incredibly high standards. I know I'm going to get pelters from people for saying we're relationship-driven. Yeah, we are. I know we need to make placements, we need to make fees. We've made a lot, but we've done it through like our approach of honesty, integrity, value add.
I think that's, I don't know, I can't even remember if it was just a natural thing or if it came through the training I had when I started, but that's always been for me so important. And obviously I was always motivated. I'm still the same. Obviously I've got a business to run, right? So I'm motivated by that business doing well and providing for myself and whatever else. But in everything that I do, I am always prioritizing the value that I'm giving and making sure that it's fitting and tailored to what that person needs. And I was the same when I was employed as well. And I had so much passion, and still do, for people sort of having their needs met. Do you know what I mean? Like them getting what they needed and wanted in that scenario. Yes, a byproduct of that is I get a placement fee or whatever you want to call it, or get paid by the client. But for me, them being happy and enjoying that process was very, very important. And ultimately it wins you more business in the future anyway.
Yeah. Like, look, of course it does. But how many, that's going to sound really harsh, but how many businesses are actually doing that right now? Like, they're not, they're thinking about a fee, thinking about billing, thinking about invoicing. Where if you park that to one side and think about the impact and the relationship that you can start to build with somebody, all of that is a byproduct. All of that then starts to happen. But I think from a recruitment business point of view, you then just got to, as you grow, and I'm sure I'm going to encounter that more and more over the next 12 to 18 months. We've just got to ensure that our DNA of a business, it's still running through. It's relationship driven. It's also just being totally honest, like with a client or customer as well. Like, if you can't help, just say. Like, don't say yes to everything. Like, there've been instances like over the last 6 months where we've said no to business because we can't help, and it's because it's really low fees. It's they've been out with 4 to 5 other agencies. It's like, I can't have a positive impact if that's the case. So
yeah,
I'm not the right person. So it's like, honesty is massive in recruitment, but can we say that, sort of recruiters in general are? Question mark.
Probably not.
I say question mark. You said probably not. So
that could be another question that we could go into in a lot more. Yeah, we're not, like, I think for a lot of the stuff we're saying, we're not saying, well, I can speak for myself anyway. I'm not saying that every single recruiter is untrustworthy, and we know we've got that perception in the industry, but the perception is there for a reason, and we need to start changing it. And that comes from the whole changing it, not just parts of the whole changing it. And that is the issue we've got, is that there are a selection of amazing agencies out there, really good consultants. Some consultants work for shitty agencies and they're amazing, but they're a small part in a big whole. But that's not gonna, to get rid of this perception as a whole, and you can't control everybody. So is this ever going to be possible? I don't know. Everybody needs to be singing from a similar hymn sheet, as in honesty, integrity, good values. But, there's 200,000 odd agencies in the UK. So, so we're not, what I'm saying is, not everybody is like this. We're just talking about a side of recruitment. Well, I am anyway, a side of recruitment.
Yeah, no,
so unfortunately, it's still there.
And so am I. Look, there's some phenomenal people in the industry. You've had quite a few of them on the pod, like over the last couple of months. Some phenomenal people in the industry, and they're banging the same drum as we are right now. Will it change in our lifetime? Probably not. But we can keep banging the drum and we can keep talking about it. And if it has a positive impact on a handful of recruiters this year, handful of business owners this year, handful of customers this year, that's positive. And that means we are making an impact. As I say, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but just trying to do things a little bit differently. Like, not just think about chasing a fee. Yeah.
And speaking of great people in the industry, I'm going to give you a rundown of the next show, which, oh my God, I've done really well to hold that in, which is, I didn't write the date down again, did I? The 5th of March at the normal time, 12:30. So I've got, for the first time in recruitment and census history, I've got 2 guests on with me at once. So how we're going to manage this time-wise, I'm going to be challenged on this one, but we're going to do it. So I've got Matt Kirk, who you hopefully have seen on LinkedIn, the annoying recruiter, and Mitch Sullivan, which I know a lot of you will know about, who is his business is copywriting for recruiters. He's a trainer and coach around sort of writing job ads, not job descriptions. Some of you might have had training with him already. They're going to come on and we're going to talk about how to fill your jobs by writing better job ads. Another big sort of talking point where a lot of recruiters, I suppose, sometimes get it quite wrong. So they're going to come on. We're going to chat about that. I'm looking forward to that one. That will be live. So just to remind you, 5th of March, 12:30. The event will come out soon. I'm just waffling now because I've gone off on a complete tangent. But yeah, just come along to the next one, basically. Right. Let's come back to your top tip. Be relentlessly consistent. Oh no, be relentless. I've written that wrong, haven't I? Be relentlessly consistent.
But we're all right, Kate. We're all right with that.
We're all right there, yeah.
Right. So look, be relentless and consistent. Like some people think, oh, Jesus Christ, Max, that's just more buzzwords. It's not. Be relentless with your learning. Be relentless with your business development. Be relentless in what you can offer someone, and be relentless in your approach. And being relentless in your learning is probably the most important part of all of that. If you are, you will be a decent recruiter. Like it doesn't need to be any harder. It doesn't need to be any more complicated. Just be relentless with everything that you do. Start with the learning. You will have a positive impact on your candidates and your clients.
Yeah. And being consistent is going to build, and with positive behaviors, it's going to build those really positive habits. Like it's what we were talking about earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. That absolutely flew by. As you all know from watching, this wasn't live, but if you've still got things to say, just keep chucking them in the event and we will come back to them later. If you want to connect with Max, if you want to throw him some abuse in the DMs after the show today, or if you just want to ask questions, maybe interested in working for his agency, whatever, LinkedIn's the best place to find you, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Max is tagged to the event. It's easy to find him and add him. So I would encourage you to do so. Don't forget to join me for the next show where I will be a little bit more with it and not hungover because it's going to be a Wednesday and I don't drink on school nights. So that's absolutely fine. But yeah, thank you all for watching and I will see you on the next show.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for having me on.